Hello YouTubers, this is another one of my little videos. This one is about the Toyota RAV 2002. It's a 4D4 2-litre diesel, and it suffers with the common problem with all these diesels around this era, the old blocked EGR valve, or it gets bunged up and a bit sticky and all the rest of it. So we're going to take that off, give it a clean and pop it back on. I have done this job before, so hopefully it should be fairly straightforward. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take the air filter off. I have shown you that previously in a video I did about the same car, changing the starter motor. But first thing we need to do is disconnect the mass airflow sensor, like so. And the other thing you need to do all this is a 10mm socket on the extension bar. Loosen this here Jubilee clip off. That's fairly loose now. I think we're going to have to get a screwdriver and prise that off. But the next thing to do is undo the clips at the sides, like so. And the lid comes up, like that. It might come off with a bit of abuse now. No, still tight. So we'll loosen that a bit more, and oh dear, we've dropped the socket in the bottom of the car. I'll retrieve that a moment. Retrieved the socket and loosened the Jubilee clip off a bit more. With a bit of a pry, it comes apart. Pull the air filter element out. And down on the bottom of there, there's some more they're 6mm, but 10mm headed bolts to remove. Shan't bother filming them because it's not very exciting. Right, with the air filter pulled out the way, this is the actual EGR valve. You can see that is where the air filter lives, is only held down with the 3 bolts. But there's your EGR valve, and as you can see there's 2 coolant pipes going on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull those off and pop, these are M10 bolts in there to stop too much coolant running out. There's a connection there which is going to be pushed down and pulled off. I'll do that now. Push the little tab down, give it a wiggle. Oh, it's a bit sticky, these things. And off it comes, like so. These valves are held in place with M12 bolts, so you've got a nice long socket, an extension bar. There's one there, and I think I'm right in saying there's one at the bottom as well. We'll get to that in a minute. Right, so I'll pull those hose clamps off, and then we'll cut back to that in a second. Get these nasty little spring hose clamps off. You need a pair of I think they call them water cut pump pliers, but some people in the southwest where I come from call the darn things gas tongs for some reason. I suppose they used to be used by gas fitters years ago, I guess. And they're fiddly things, and I would much prefer proper hose clamps with a screw on. But I guess these things are put on in the factory because they're snapped on with a little tool quite quickly. I've got a little bloke there turning a screwdriver or other tool. Right, so we cut back to that. Right, so there's the hose clamps off and a couple of bolts stuck in to stop the coolant going everywhere. Next thing, we're going to undo the securing bolts. That's where one of them is there. Being a Toyota, it's 12mm headed bolt. I think another one, I'm going to have to put the camera down, I think. Unfortunately, that's the one problem with filming some of these things on cars. It's difficult to, even though I've got a tripod, to set a tripod up so I can use both hands and actually let you see what's going on. Right, there is a bolt in the bottom, which I've taken out. When you sort of see the thing in the flesh, it's right tucked down in there, and you need, well, the easy way to do it is the extension bar. It's one of these wobbly ended ones, so the socket can run slightly off centre. The bottom one's a bolt, these two top ones are nuts. I've already cracked them off with the ratchet, so they're loose now. There's a little nut on the end. I'll put safely up out the way where I don't drop them down in the engine, because I'm real good at that. Now hopefully it'll all come out, and there we go. There he is. One EGR valve, and nice and dirty down inside of there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean this out with what we're going to do, carburettor cleaner. We're going to clean those ports out in there, which are plumbed right up with carbon, with some carburettor cleaner, which you can get at auto stores. The one I buy comes from a tool station in the UK, because it seems to be the cheapest place for them. I seem to remember you've got to take these 3 screws off on the top as well, and take the solenoid mechanism off so you can get to it all. Right, I've undone the 3 screws on the top here, and the solenoid mechanism comes off, and as I understand it, this is what actually operates the EGR valve and the engine's revving correctly or whatever, and it opens the valves up and starts to recirculate your exhaust gases and burn off all your, well, not all of, but at least some of the nasty gases that are produced by diesels. Don't do people's respiratory functions any good. And you can see once you've done this, you can push the plunger up and down, which operates inside the valve, which actually opens the valve. So we're going to be giving that a push in and out like that, and spraying carb cleaner through there and giving it a good clean. Right, well here's the EGR valve taken off the car, and I don't know whether you can see, there's quite a lot of sunlight here. You can see the plunger in the bottom chamber there. That's the important thing, that it all moves freely. And as it turns out, I mean, I have cleaned this one a couple of years ago, and I don't think this is the source of my problem. I think the source of the problem, which is a bit of a flat spot in the acceleration when you pull away at about sort of 3,500 RPM, 4,000 RPM. I think the problem is probably the mass airflow sensor, because I took this off a couple of years ago and it was bung solid. You couldn't move that. But I'm still going to give it a bit of a clean, and if you notice I'm got the old rubber gloves on, because trust me, this is a mucky job. I'm going to do it over a bucket with a bit of newspaper in the bottom, catch the crud. But like I say, this is nowhere near as dirty as I saw it before. Previously, I was using screwdrivers and things to poke out big lumps of carbon out of there. That's not really the case now, but I'll give it a clean, and we see how we go from there. I'm going to spray some carburettor cleaner in there, and straight away you can see the amount of gunk that comes out of it. I have to say, this is not really dirty. I've seen them far worse. That's coming cleaner straight away. But so we'll carry on like that and poke it all around a little bit. Pick screwdrivers in there. Previously I was drop swipe to get them clean. But trust me, carburettor cleaner is the stuff to use. Far more effective than anything else. So I'll keep going with this for a while. Once we've got it clean, we'll put it back on. Straight away, a lot's coming out of there. There we go now. I'll give it all a good clean. Used a fair old bit of the carb cleaner. And if you look now, you can see that the actual valve inside of it open when I push down on the mechanism there. And it is, I have to say, considerably cleaner and considerably easier to move than it was when I took it off. So I'm going to put the whole assembly back together now and put it back on the car, and as they say, reinstallation is the reverse of removal, so that's about the strength of it. We'll put it all back together and give the car a run and see how we go. Well, I've put it all back together, air filter, air box and all the rest of it put back on, so let's give it first start, see what happens. Starts cleanly. appears to rev better than it did. So I may well have sorted the problem out. But like I said, I'm a bit suspicious of the mass airflow sensor. I think the one that's on the car is probably original, and I don't know whether you can quite see it on there, but the car has got 129,000 miles on the clock, so he's done a few. That will give it a little bit of a road test now, and hopefully another job fixed without any great expense. Cheers now.